What was life like when growing up in the 1920s and 1930s?
Well, of course, it was a lot different. No question about that. When I first was growing up, we had a farm. We didn't even have electricity or indoor plumbing or anything. In fact, on the farm we used horses. And then, of course, when the Great Depression hit in 1929-30, most people were hurting. It was different. And of course, my father came here from Holland, so I was the first one born here. Those times were different. Of course, the nation was so much smaller. I remember when I was born, there probably was 100 million people in this country. And today there's 330 million. So things changed not only because of the situation, but because the country itself changed so dramatically with population. Of course, we were still heavily in the agricultural age, where today then they were converted rapidly. They were in the process of becoming industrial, but really was a lot of it was agricultural. So things were a lot different. Not saying they were better, not saying they were worse. They were different.
How did you being in the military come about? Was it something you always wanted to do, or?
No, not really. I was a senior in high school when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7th. I then knew I would probably wind up in the military sometime. I might have got exempt because the farmers were exempt, but when your country is attacked, you're young, you want to go fight for your country. So after I graduated, I had to wait a couple months because my parents didn't want to sign anything. I wasn't 18 yet, but I was in the service. Then I went into the service. But I don't think we did anything different than we would do today if your country's attacked. The circumstances were different. So often we judge people forgetting about the circumstances.
Now, when you first went into the military, was it exactly how you kind of pictured it, or was what happened very different?
I don't think there was any way of picturing it. The military was different too, because prior to being attacked in 1940, we probably had less than 300,000 people in the Army. And the Army grew to 8.5 million in a relatively short time. So the training was obviously shortened. It was tougher because they did it in a short time. My basic training was 13 weeks. And I had to get you ready in a hurry.
Okay.
So the military itself changed dramatically. An army, a country that didn't even have 500,000 people in the armed forces, by the end of the war had 16.2 million. So when things happened so fast, obviously nobody could have pictured it. And of course, aside from the few remaining World War I people, nobody could know what real war really was. Because in our country, we had never had an outside country attack us. Here we're being hit on two fronts, Europe and Pacific, so it's hard to picture it, really.
Mm-hmm. What struggles did you face as a serviceman overseas?
I don't think you can be prepared for what's happening. And I was at a school, an elementary school, we were speaking, had all the kids in the room. One of them wanted to know what it was like to live in a foreign country. I really didn't live there. I fought there. So the amount of time we spent with the residents was minimal. And of course, when you're in battle, you're moving all the time, so you might be having dinner with somebody after a battle, but then you were gone. So you really didn't. You lived there, yet you didn't live there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I had any real troubles there, except that it was, I'll tell you a funny story. During basic training, they gave us some tests. They called me in and said, you have a high IQ. We're going to send you up to New York to a college to coming officer and an engineer. And I said, didn't want to do it. I want to go fight. Well, you got to follow rules. So but I didn't do the work. So they sent me back to the infantry. And a month and a half later, I was on a boat to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And after we got into France, after my first real battle, and we had a break for a minute, we sat down. I thought to myself, what was I thinking? Because I had no idea what I was getting into. And now I was there. I was going to be there. We didn't have tours in those days. You were there until it was over, or you got seriously wounded, part of your body was gone or something, or the war ended. That was really where it was. So I knew I was faced with a period of time I didn't know how long.
Mm-hmm.
But you adjust, you adapt. Mm-hmm.
Where and when did you serve, and how did you feel about it at the time?
Where do I? Well, I served in, my tune-up was in Northern Ireland. Then I went into France, not on D-Day, but I was in the Normandy campaign. I was in there shortly thereafter, but I was in France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Holland, and Germany. I was in all of them. And there's no way you could be prepared for what you were going to be faced, because not only the fighting, and you're in the front line, just the way you live. You're almost like an animal. You sleep on the ground, or if you're lucky, you get, if it's frozen too hard, you dig a foxhole so you can get below the surface of the ground. You go for days without a shower or even a change of clothes. So it's a different existence, but you're fighting for your country, so you you don't really hear a lot of complaining, really, because of the fact that you're fighting for your country. Right? Sometimes you get mad, can't I get a hot cup of coffee or something? But I don't know if the complaining was that bad because of the circumstances. War is bad, but you don't take it as bad when your country is attacked. And you also had big moral support from home. Wars after that, Korea and Vietnam and Afghanistan, Iraq, I'm not saying they were good or bad. That's not for me. I'm not an expert in that. But when it was our choice, everybody doesn't always agree. You don't get the same, it's not quite the same. At least we had a lot of good moral support from home. They had no idea what we were doing, but we'd have good moral support.